everyone! My name is Allyson, and I work at the Akita Prefectural Board of Education. Welcome to our first video in our new online seminar series. This will be a series of videos on many different topics where you can practice listening to and writing or speaking more English with a variety of speakers. So I hope that you enjoy these videos and keep studying hard. Okay everyone, so our first video is about time capsules. So we will talk about what that means, but first we want to think about the idea of time, the past, the present, and the future. So there are many things we can think of from our past, right? Our favorite stuffed animal from when we were a child, or maybe some pictures of us from when we were kids. These make us think of the past. But how do we think about the future? If you could talk to yourself in the future, what would you say? We will think about that in today's video. So the title for this is Your Past, Our Present, Everyone's Future, Time Capsules and How We Share Our Stories. My name is Allyson, I am from the USA, and today I will talk about this topic with you. So first, I want you to think about how do we communicate with each other? Take a few seconds, maybe pause the video, and think of ways that we communicate. Maybe you thought of things such as just speaking. We talk about the power of communication when you speak to another person. In today's society, we also can use various things online, such as SNS, many things on our phone, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Maybe you use many of these things. In the old days, maybe not so much now, people used to write letters, used to physically write on paper ideas they wanted to send to somebody. A while ago, maybe not so popular now, people used to write letters for what is called a message in a bottle. If you play Animal Crossing, maybe you've seen this in the bottles that wash up on the ocean. But there's one great story that I like about a message in a bottle. So on January 15th, 1971, there was a young boy in England, and he wrote a letter, he put it into a bottle, and then threw that into the sea, into the ocean, to see where it would go. On the piece of paper, you can see here, it contained his name, the date that he wrote it, and his address where he lived in England. Now, no one found this message for a really long time, but 44 years later in Scotland, so not very far away, there was a couple, you can see in this picture, who found the letter. They found it on the beach, just like in Animal Crossing, and they took it back to the boy who had written the letter, who is now quite older. And through this simple message that this man wrote in 1971, these two couples, these four people, came together and were able to become friends by just communicating, indeed, with the future. So that's just one example of how people can communicate, not even directly, but with someone in the future. So this brings us to the idea of a time capsule. Maybe you have heard of these. Maybe you have made one, a small version of a time capsule for yourself. But if we talk about what is a time capsule, a time capsule is a box or any container like a bottle or a jar that is buried underground or hidden somewhere until some time in the future. Usually you say, okay, 10 years from now, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, or even longer. But you say, okay, we will open this in 10 years. You can put anything inside of a time capsule, anything that you think will be important or that someone might find interesting. And usually, these objects are a way to show what today's society looked like, what your life right now looked like, so that someone in the future will be able to see this. So if we look a little bit at the history of time capsules, so people have been making time capsules for a long time, but the name or the word time capsule was only created or coined in 1939, so less than 100 years ago. So here is a picture of one of the time capsules from 1939. And based on this picture, maybe it's easy to understand how originally people wanted to call time capsules time bombs. So based on this picture, maybe this looks more like a bomb than a capsule. But luckily, they chose capsule instead. Some of the earliest examples we know of these time capsules, one of them is from 1761. It was found in Boston, which is in Massachusetts, a state in America. And it was inside of what is called a grasshopper weather vane. You can see a picture of that here. Grasshopper here is this insect with its little antenna and the legs that make music, make sounds in the summer. And a weather vane is used to show direction and moves around when the wind blows. Another example is from 1777, and this was found in Spain, in a city called Burgos. This was a religious statue, I believe a statue of Jesus Christ, found in Spain. So you can see here on the map the locations of where these were found. Some of the earliest capsules we know of. One of the more interesting ones, I think, is one that was created by MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in America. And it was set to be opened in the year 2957. So 1,000 years after it was made. It was buried in 1957, and because it's MIT, a technology institute, it contained a science magazine, some new coins that had been made that year, a mug that you would drink from, a small container of penicillin, an important medicine that was made that year, and some other technology that MIT thought would be very important for the future. The creators, or the people who came up with this idea, had this quote about their time capsule. And this is a little hard, but please take the time to try and read this on your own. It's very beautiful. So I will read it. It says, "We cannot guess what the next millennium holds for the world, or whether you will regard our age as once science. But we are confident that you will have a greater understanding of the universe and that we will have made some contribution to that understanding. We wish you continued success in the pursuit of knowledge." So, basically, this is a letter to the future, 1,000 years in the future, saying that we don't know what will happen. We don't know what 1,000 years looks like from now. But we hope that you will look at these items and think that these were very important to where you are now. And we hope that you in the future will continue to learn, continue to study, and make even more discoveries about the world. It's very beautiful, I think. I used to study science, so I think things like this are very beautiful. Another one that I found is maybe interesting to you as Japanese is one that is in or near Osaka Castle. So you can see in this picture here, Osaka Castle, and the time capsule right in front of it. So it's very close. Maybe you have seen this in person. So this celebrated what was called the 1970 Japan World Exposition, a very big type of demonstration, almost like a party, but more science, more scientific, where they showed off parts of Japan to people from all across the world. So in this year, in 1970, there were 2 capsules that were buried under the ground at the same time. They were exactly the same. One was opened in the year 2000, so 20 years ago, and it will be opened every 100 years after that. So in 2000, 2100, 2200, 2300, so on, so on. And then the other one will not be opened for 5,000 years. So it will be opened in the year 6970. That doesn't even seem like a real year. It is so far in the future. But it will be opened by whoever is around in 6970. So what kind of things are inside of this time capsule, you might wonder? Well, when they opened it in 2000, they checked to see what was still good and what was not so good. And they found, or they remembered, I guess, that both contained over 2,000 objects, 2,098 objects, that they thought showed what life in Japan was at that moment in 1970. So it had some things like a radio, some astronaut food, food that astronauts eat up in space, medical supplies, things that are used at the hospital, various seeds of plants and trees, Japanese specific plants, a rice cooker, something very important to daily Japanese life, and other things of that nature. So, based on this idea, this background, I have a question. I want you to think about this. So, why should we communicate with the future? Why should we bother to talk to the future? We are here, we are now. Why do we want to talk to them? So please pause the video and think. Try to come up with some reasons. Why do you think that we should talk to the future? Why should we care? So please pause the video for a second. So maybe you came up with some various ideas. Mostly, in my opinion, we want to communicate, to share our stories. What happened while we were here, what we think will happen in the future, and what has kind of made our history, what makes us unique in the place that we live, what makes Japan unique, what makes my country America unique, and what do we want to tell people so that they know that that happened. So some examples we can think of. When people make time capsules, some reasons they do it is to protect something that you think will disappear. Otherwise, there is no need to put something in the capsule. If you think it will still be there in 5,000 years, it's kind of boring. It's not very fun to put it into a time capsule because it's just, we see that every day. So some things people have started making to protect various things. So one thing here is the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. So this contains seeds of various plants, various flowers and trees. The Frozen Ark Project, which contains the DNA of various endangered species, various animals that may not live much longer. And the Rosetta Project, which helps to keep a database or a catalog of endangered languages, languages that people will not speak in the future. Another reason to communicate is to explain what has happened in our lives. What happened in my life? What happened in your life? And what do we want to tell people in the future so that they can learn? Another thing that's especially important right now when there is so much change happening is to think critically, think very cautiously, very carefully about what is important and what should we remember, what is worth remembering. So, especially right now, for life during the coronavirus, during COVID-19, there are many changes to our daily life. We can't go outside so much, we can't interact with our friends. For some of us, we can't go to school, we can't go to work. This has changed how we live our lives in a very new way, something people haven't seen. Maybe we want to teach that to the future. And another reason, and this is my favorite, is to maintain hope that there will be someone in the future who will find our memories. Someone 1,000 years, 5,000 years from now will find our small box and open it and think, wow, that's really cool, and to learn from that. So by making a time capsule, we think that our thoughts, our ideas are important, and that someone in the future will think so too. So to summarize, time capsules, these ideas, help to connect the past, the present, and the future. So remember that a time capsule is anything that contains objects that gets buried and is opened after a defined or set amount of time. These time capsules are a way to share objects or information from the past, or from the present rather, with the future. And this then allows people to communicate or to talk across time, connecting people 1,000 years ago to now, or 10 years ago to now, to 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years in the future. So based on that, I want you guys to think about these questions, and please send in your answers to me so that we can have another discussion. We can talk about these ideas. So my 3 discussion questions are, number 1, what things or what objects show the culture or current state of a society? And can you put those things into a bottle or a box? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, if you were to make a time capsule to be opened in 100 years by other people, what would you put inside of it to show Japanese life or your life right now? Choose 5 things. And question number 3, what would you put into a time capsule for yourself from 10 years from now? So you want to open something, a gift from your past in 10 years. What do you want to say to yourself in the future? So please think about those questions. Please send me your answers so that we can discuss them. I'm looking forward to hearing your ideas. If you have any other questions, any other thoughts, ideas, opinions, please send them to me so that I can talk to you and we can have more and more communication. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Our friend Duffy hopes that you enjoyed our video as well, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.